Thank you. And now I recognize Representative Baird for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question focuses on the contributions for the international peacekeeping activities account. The U.S. government requested $1.31 billion for U.S. contributions to international peacekeeping throughout the Sub-Saharan Africa. The request for these contributions to the failing UN missions in Central Africa and the Democratic Republic of Congo and Mali is $970 million. And by contrast, the coastal West African region receives only $100 million, and they spread that through the Global Fragility Act, and that's split between 5 countries. So my question, Assistant Secretary Fee, is in today's resource-constrained environment, why does the department still view these contributions to UN peacekeeping operations in Africa as an effective use of resources that enhance U.S. national security?
Thank you very much, Congressman, for highlighting the challenges that these peacekeeping missions face. As I'm sure you know well, as a permanent member of the Security Council, dating to the founding of the Security Council, the United States pays an assessed contribution to support peacekeeping operations authorized by the Security Council. So that accounts for that funding request, and the peacekeeping efforts in Africa are among, if not the most challenging in the world, given the degraded security environments in which they operate and the challenges the troop contributing countries face in dealing with terrorist threats, such as in Mali, where they're dealing with threats from ISIS and from AQ. Also in the DRC, they're dealing with threats from armed militias as well as ISIS. And in CAR, there is the historic threat from insurgent groups there, and now the presence of the Wagner Group. In both CAR and in Mali, the Wagner Group has limited the operations of those peacekeeping missions, calling into question their utility, and I think it has led to the decision by the transitional government to ask for the mission to leave in Mali. So they're a bit of apples and oranges in terms of the funding, as again, assessed contributions rather than initiatives by Congress, such as through the GFA. Those are questions that we need to consider collectively about what's the best way to invest in Africa's security and development.
Thank you. And Assistant Administrator Mayangwa, the Global Facility and Fragility Act sets a decade-long time horizon on the address of political and social drivers of conflict, a laudable goal, but one insufficient to address the immediacy of the security threat posed by the JNIM and Islamic State Greater Sahara. So how does the department balance resourcing the long-term goals of the GFA with the urgent need to improve security to the northern areas of the coastal West Africa?
Thank you so much for that question. I would start by pointing out that the GFA is part of a larger package of security support to the African continent that the United States provides. Part of it resides with the Department of Defense, and then there are programs by the Department of State as well as USAID. For USAID on the Global Fragility Act, as you know, the President approved those 10-year plans in March of this year, and we have started to implement in coastal West Africa, where we have 22 activities that are either being implemented or in the planning process. And we are focusing on the prevention side of it, which speaks to the larger security environment. So we have programs that are looking at border security, programs that provide for livelihoods, and so that we can build resilience in the communities that guards against potential recruitment by extremist forces. We are also looking at each country's context. And so the 10-year horizon actually gives us the certainty of being able to build on over the long term rather than the single-year funding. So we're really, really grateful for that, that it will continue to build on successes from this year going into the future to help minimize the vulnerabilities to violent extremism in the region and other sources of fragility.
Thank you.